Our next session is based on cybersecurity and how it is the most promising career in the post-pandemic world. Well, I would like to welcome our speaker for this session, Mr. Pradipto Chakrabarty. He is the Regional Director of South Asia at CompTIA, one of the largest global IT certification bodies. He is an IIT Roorkee alumni and a business leader in certification, skill development, and technology training industry. He is also a thought leader and industry contributor as a speaker, panelist, article contributor in the media, and a forum leader. Welcome, Pradipto. We are glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Mamta. Can you all hear me and see me and see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, very good afternoon from a very chilly, very cold Republic Day from Delhi, where I'm based out of. And it's really a pleasure to begin with. On behalf of CompTIA, I wish the entire EduBridge team and all the participants here a very happy Republic Day. It's 73 years of Republic Day celebrations now, and I believe that, according to me, the essence of Republic is empowerment and nothing more than skill development, which can empower all of us. And I say all of us means each one of us. And thank you very much for inviting me to talk here today. And as you see, my topic here is cybersecurity, the most promising tech career in a post-pandemic world. And honestly speaking, when I decided on this topic, I added the word post-pandemic because of the buzz. People talking about post-pandemic business, post-pandemic health industry, post-pandemic technology industry, and so on. And definitely, it looks very attractive, very cool, very nice, and it also very positive, because you are adding the word post, which means that, we're going to come out of it. And then once we finally decided that, and you guys all did all the collaterals and everything, I actually came across this wonderful blog by Mr. Michael Dell. And it was quite drastic, because he mentioned that there'll never be a post-pandemic or post-COVID world. And if you read that article, it's very interesting. And he goes on to say that, it's already been 2 years, all the sort of best practices as humans that we inculcated, the cleanliness, the social distancing, the masks, etc., all of those are going to remain. Also the fact that as a global society, it is going to be long term. You've seen all the various mutations that is coming in. But what the key takeaway that I realized here and what I came across is that it has definitely changed a few critical, crucial aspects of our life. And this is exactly what was being spoken in the last panel discussion is, the way we work and the way we learn. And in both these cases, we've added the word hybrid here, hybrid workforce. We're just listening to it, hybrid learning. And to be honest, since childhood all the way up to our entire life of working era, a bulk of our time is spent on our work life or our study life or our learning life. Even if you're completed your education, you're still learning, and that is what organizations like yourselves are doing, providing that scope. But then gone are the days when, learning is going to be completely classroom based. There will be an element of hybrid in there. And also, and because this is changing this whole aspect, technologically, the industry has to also evolve. And Dell then goes on to say that, the rate of digital transformation that we are seeing right now is, nothing more than what we have ever seen in the whole human development scope. And that will definitely enable us to live sort of this, I would not say a new normal now after 2 years. It's basically a normal environment that we're going to live. Hybrid work, hybrid learning, supported by this whole concept of digital transformation. And not only these two, it's also the way we live, the way we, order our food, the way we, transport, the way we travel, everything, all of that is going through a huge amount of change, ushered in by this whole concept of digital transformation. So having said that, in fact, that is one of the reasons why CompTIA has partnered with EduBridge. I'll talk about CompTIA at the later phase of my discussion today. But the whole objective of tying up with EduBridge as our authorized partner, as our authorized delivery partner, is so that EduBridge is enabled to offer authorized training on our CompTIA certifications. We have, and I'll show that to you later on as we move along, there are 14 certifications. Somebody was asking in the chat box about data analytics, which is also something that we are launching right now. So the key factors of this partnership is use of CompTIA's standard international curriculum, use of CompTIA's official content, which we have developed for each of those programs or the certifications that we have, and use of certified instructors. And as of last evening, I'm very happy to announce and state that the EduBridge team has put together, to begin with, some of the courses from CompTIA up on their portal, and all of you are free to explore and evaluate that. I'm sure that the EduBridge team will help you facilitate with more information about all of that. So moving forward, Mamta initially told that I do speak in a lot of forums. Yes, I do. And predominantly, I think 70, 80, or maybe 90% of the sessions that I do are with career seekers. I would not say career changers, but I would say career seekers, which is predominantly made up of student community. I don't know the audience that is sitting here. I'm sure that there would be somebody who would be working professional. Some people would be students. So I've sort of making it quite generic in terms of my coverage. But when I talk to the students, the career seekers, there are a couple of things that come out very, loud and clear. One is, a sort of, I would say, ignorance towards, career roles or job roles. That's a major thing. The knowledge that people get or the students get is either through some seniors or through some neighbors, or hearing big organizations or job roles, so on and so forth. For a long period of time, the Indian IT industry, the largest job roles, which is, I believe that it's still there, but was software development. And whether a person is actually interested in that job or whether they're capable of that job is not what they're thinking at this point in time. So one of my roles is basically to dispel that. Secondly, these are some of the questions that come out, that when you talk about cybersecurity, what are the opportunities there? What are the kind of job roles within cybersecurity? What are the key skills that you would require to make a career in cybersecurity? And where should your starting point be? And I will again refer to the last panel discussion where a very, very pertinent question came out, which was tech versus non-tech background, and I would completely align with the panel by saying that, although this is a technical field, technical domain, but I have seen that there are organizations, so there are individuals who are completely from a non-technical background, are stepping into cybersecurity in multiple roles. So over the next whatever time that I have in this session, I'm going to focus on these 4 or 5 burning questions, and that would be my agenda per se in terms of today's discussion. To begin with, the first thing that I would want to do is to demystify the whole impression of cybersecurity or cybersecurity professionals. Now, honestly, whenever I talk to, so 9 out of 10 students that I ask the question, hey, what do you mean by cybersecurity? And 9 out of 10 people will raise their hand and say hacking. And it is basically, and the way I interpret it is basically is the thrill that you get out of being a voyeur. A hacker is, with an ulterior motive or without an ulterior motive, a hacker is basically a voyeur. He's snooping into your system and he's snooping into your data. And the whole impression about this cybersecurity person, is that hooded guy, shoved aside in an organization, sitting in some corner, doing some shady job that we do not know. Well, actually, and most of the time that I speak to those students, I try to dispel that, it's a very small portion of cybersecurity is to do with hacking. And that is where, when I talk to organizations as well as individuals, working professionals, I point them towards this wonderful framework that an organization called NICE, the National Initiative of Cybersecurity Education, based out of the US. This is a US framework, and they have defined the whole job roles or the tasks that are there in within this domain. And honestly speaking, I have evaluated a lot of these frameworks across the world, the European ones and the Asian ones, Indian ones, and so on and so forth. And honestly speaking, and not to take away anything from whatever we are doing in India, but nothing is more deep than the kind of job roles that NICE, the framework, has talked about. And I'll not go into a lot of deep because of paucity of time, but it has basically it talks about 52 job roles within cybersecurity arranged in these 7 categories or job categories, which start from investigation, which is the very ground level work, to talking about collection and operation of data, analysis of data, to protect and defend your assets and your data, to govern and oversee the whole process of how you are using data and information, maintenance and operation, and finally, securely provision, which means that whenever you're developing a code, or whenever you're developing an application, it should have security integrated right from the word go. Most of the time what happens is that till now, what has happened is that the development process has been completely divorced from the security process. And at the end of the day, the vulnerabilities come out of those codes that you have been, or the developers have been using. So there is a lot of cross connection nowadays between the various units of a digital organization, the development unit, the way information is transferred, which is the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure, and the networking and the cloud side, the data side, and then all of it wrapped by the governance of cybersecurity. So as you see from the screen, what I want to establish is that there is a lot more in terms of scope for you if you evaluate a career in cybersecurity. Also, the whole dimension of cybersecurity also has gone through a lot of changes over the past few years. Earlier when you were working from office, or even before that, I think the perimeter was very hard, and it was very impenetrable. And therefore, if somebody would put a firewall, and I'm sorry for using technical words, but just a very little touch upon this, when you put that firewall, you are all safe. But now what is happening? I am using my mobile to access my my corporate communication collaboration tools like Slack or Zoom or whatever it is. I'm using my mobile to access my home network to access my organization CRM. So therefore, the perimeter is completely blurred. So what we are talking about is defense in depth, which is a group of policy management initiatives and technical initiatives, as well as non-technical initiative in terms of audit, etc. To secure, we've broken down it into layers, like completely from data security to application to endpoint, to network, and finally to the perimeter security. So all of this put together, again, alludes to the point that there is a lot of scope. So the first answer is that, is there a scope? Definitely there is a scope of a variety of job roles within cybersecurity. It's not only hacking. Point number 2, what we were talking about, is the industry requirement. And that is where I will share a few statistics. I know statistics can be boring at times, but I love the numbers because it gives very clear indication of what is there in the industry. I chanced upon this PwC annual Global CEO survey, and it's publicly available. The question was, how concerned are you about the threats following the global threats negatively impacting your company over the next 12 months? And it was like very strange to see that cyber risk is, even the CEOs have ranked cyber risk even more than economic volatility or geopolitical conflicts and so on and so forth, right? So therefore, it is the buzz, and the industry is lacking behind. dramatically lacking behind. Because in India, and this is the CompTIA research that we have done, that in India, 77% of the organization, we did a very deep research, talking to a lot of business leaders within our industry. 77% of Indian employers, organizations have noted a clear skill gap in cybersecurity. They have open job roles. They do not have skilled people to actually fulfill those job roles, and that is a very reason that with EduBridge we've kind of joined hands in this initiative of providing a very cutting edge cybersecurity training for students, working professional, career changers, and so on. Another piece of very interesting research that I came across last year from this from Microsoft, actually. And if you see the questions, it is very clear that the highest rating that was given in terms of the question was that, okay, what is the change that you would see or observe, in terms of cybersecurity staffing due to pandemic? Are you going to hire people? Are you outsource certain things? Are you reducing the size? Are you no comments, etc.? And the yellow bar here is again India. And what you see here is that most of the respondents have reported by saying that they want to add additional security professionals. That's very interesting. So what are we looking at? What we are looking at, this is from ISC Square, another organization, is that currently in the 11 major economies, 3 million people cybersecurity workforce, like at various level, right from entry to maybe expert level or the CISO level. But the current requirement is, so the total workforce requirement as of now is 7 million. So what we are looking at is a gap of 4 million unfulfilled position. And this is all reported by ISC Square, which is a very, very leading thought leader in the field of cybersecurity, knowledge, data, etc. And what is even more interesting is that 65% of that 4 million, 2.6 million roughly, is the demand of cybersecurity professional in the APAC region, predominantly India and China in the coming years. So again, it's quite an interesting field, and it justifies your attention if you want to evaluate a career in technology. You might be a tech graduate, you might be a standard graduate, BSc, BA, irrespective, but it definitely warrants a bit of attention. So what is in it for you? Last year, within a flat hiring level in technology, cybersecurity openings grew by 6%. And that's a good news. The bad news is that you have competition, because the cybersecurity job searches increased by 30%. So 30% more people are looking at a career in security. Or cybersecurity or information security, and so on and so forth. Very high, very good, healthy salary levels. And I'm not going to talk about this a lot, because this is again something that it depends on organization, it depends on role, it depends on the skills that you have, and so on and so forth. But one of the things that I want to share is that earlier, when you are looking at a tech role, you automatically, your attention goes towards getting a job in Infosys or TCS or Wipro or Capgemini or IBM and Google and so on and so forth. Cybersecurity has relevance in multiple segments of the industry, which means that it has, you might land up getting a job in a retail company. You might land up getting a job in a healthcare organization or a banking and financial industries, so on and so forth. So within the whole technology domain, this is one career, this is one domain where you have a lot of flexibility in terms of A, the learning piece of it, B is in terms of the career options part of it. Well, realistically, I'm not saying that, if you break it down between tech graduates and non-tech graduates, well, that's something that overall within the industry, unfortunately, that is something that is there, that, when you're looking at a tech job, I'll only look at a B.Tech. And that's not going to change perhaps overnight. But if you have the right skills, you will be given a choice. So the third part of what we wanted to discuss is that, okay, now I have decided that there is a scope. I have decided that, I have come to know that, yes, there is a requirement of people in the market. So once okay, if I get into this job role, what is the kind of growth paths that I have, so I'm assuming that a bulk of the audience here would be either fresher or up to maybe 5 years of experience. So I'm taking a scope of, like, say, somebody who's a fresher to somebody who's maybe about 7 years, up to 7 years of experience, and within the cybersecurity. So when you get as a fresher, I mean, and that's again a very, very radical change that we are seeing, is that earlier, when they were hiring security engineers, the organization used to promote someone who's like a network admin or an IT admin to a security job role. So there was a lot of self-learning, and there was a lot of unstructured learning and unstructured sort of on-the-job learning through which this guy used to, kind of join as security engineer. Now, organizations are open to hire fresh graduates as security engineers. That's a ground level job. That's sort of a level 1 kind of a job role. After a couple of years working, dirtying your sleeves and all, you move into either a defensive zone, which is a blue team, where we are talking about security analyst, or you move into a red team where we call about a, vulnerability assessment and penetration tester. So that's another, for about 2 to 5 years, work as a security analyst, as a penetration tester, get the whole understanding of how things work. And then the stage comes where you become an architect, where you're basically responsible for driving the whole policies and solutions of an organization. So that's kind of a brief sort of, a roadmap. So I'll talk about a couple of job roles here. One is the security engineer job role, which is basically all about, the first job as a security engineer, and where what you're doing is very simply as you're the first line of defense, and what you're doing is understanding the whole concept of what kind of threats, attacks, and vulnerabilities are there. Are we putting in place the tools, or learn how to put tools into place to basically help you analyze that data. And there's a lot of tech support work here in terms of, configuring and supporting firewalls, antivirus, patch management systems, and so on and so forth. And obviously work under, and at this stage today, you also know a lot of, you need to know a lot of, the regulatory aspect of it. The other job role, which is sort of a parallel at a little higher level than your engineering part of it, is the security analyst. Many of you would have heard about the security operations centers coming up in a big way in India. I mean, almost all, even retail companies like Nike and, Sony are setting up security operations centers out of India, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, Chennai, etc. And this security analyst job role is all about a continuous monitoring through which you are able to model a possible threat. If it comes, how do you respond? How do you do incident response? How do you do forensics of the entire thing? And how to, kind of thought you are the defense, you're the goalkeeper, in terms of the entire security operation. So today we are talking about defense as the form of attack in terms of security. And this is exactly what you're going to do. Quite attractive and quite diverse and quite dynamic. Some of the skills that you require overall, that we found out from the industry is data security, network security, data analytics skills. And this is something which is, again, a very, very interesting trend here, that we never thought about data analytics skills and interpretation skills when you're talking about cybersecurity. But what we have seen of late, that because of the huge amount of data monitoring that you need to do, an inherent skill of data analytics and identifying the anomalies in a data set is something that you need to have a knowledge about. Threat knowledge, I've already spoken about that what are the latest threat. I mean, today, the biggest threat that we have is ransomware. I mean, so understanding how a ransomware work, or phishing, for example, understanding how a phishing work, and how as an organization you are able to, kind of thwart these distributed denial of services. So some of those biggest new age threats, advanced persistent threats that are constantly hitting. Or so every 69 minutes, every 39 minutes, by the way, there is a cyber breach that is happening, and that is a global standard that we all know, and therefore you need to have these skills. Endpoint security, how do you secure your handheld devices, how do you secure your IoT based devices, and so on and so forth, and then one of the other entry to this whole list is the regulatory landscape, because we're talking about GDPR, we are talking about PCI DSS for credit card transactions, we are talking about the SOX, the SOX framework, which are all responsible, or which are developed to basically see how an organization is using their data or the information, and their confidential information. So regulatory landscape, cryptography of data at rest and data at movement. So those are, and then cryptography also becomes a very, very basis of blockchain. I'm sure that you've all heard about blockchain. So all of these skills are required. In terms of core knowledge, I would say a complete understanding of operating systems of all versions, be it a Windows or Linux or Android or iOS, a very deep understanding of networking and cloud computing. And then, of course, a bit of programming may be required, may not be required. And even if it's required, is the modern age Python, etc., where you can get some of the programming knowledge. But the first step, 1 and 2, in terms of priority, will be understanding of operating systems and network and cloud. And of course, in terms of the domain, I've already spoken about these, the threat landscapes, the technologies and tools. Now, there are a lot of open source tools that the industry has developed. I mean, organizations have developed, and cybersecurity is predominantly a sort of vendor neutral or a vendor agnostic kind of a domain. How to use those tools to do, packet sniffing. You're putting those tools and analyzing the results of those software, which is analyzing your data and coming up with anomalies. How do you use those tools, and how do you configure those tools? Architecture and design, how do you design a secured solution? And this is where you're coming towards the secure provisioning that I talked about in the NICE framework. So it's a mix of all the frameworks. There are, of course, some job roles which are non-technical completely. For example, auditing part of it, which is predominant. I mean, even there, you need to understand some bit of technology. These are very, very basic concepts. Threat management, vulnerability management, identity and access management is a big thing today. Whom to give authorization. We are talking about a zero trust environment where the whole concept is that we're not going to trust anyone, and hence, we are not going to give, we'll authorize first and then give access to the content. So incident response, that once there is a breach which has happened, how would I respond to it? And then, of course, I've talked about the tool sets. And then finally, how do you start? Well, we are one of the destinations where you can come and evaluate our certifications. All of these, what you see on the screen here, are CompTIA certifications that our organizations have developed, and EduBridge is responsible for one of our partners who are going to deliver these trainings to you. And in terms of the security pathway, of course, we have fundamental programs like IT fundamentals and A+, and then there are some infrastructure related programs like cloud and Linux and server. But in terms of the basic cybersecurity, we've got Network Plus, which is a networking. Security Plus is that program which helps you get that foot in the door when you're talking about cybersecurity. And then at an intermediate level, like I said, on the red team side or the attack side, you've got Pen Test Plus, and the defense, it's CYSA Plus. And then finally, for the architect levels, we have got an advanced security practitioner. You can check all of these. These are available for understanding on our website. I'll share the website once we are coming towards the end of it. Very quick, I think I have a couple of minutes left. Very quick overview of what we do. We are a large tech trade association based out of US, and our core competence is to develop vendor technology neutral certification. We identify the skills that are required in the market and then create those frameworks, and the certification and the training that will, and then the most important part is vendor neutral, because most of the organization today work on multi-vendor environment. So there might be multiple technology vendors, Microsoft, Cisco, IBM's, blah blah blah, and then you need a person with a core competence who can adapt and learn the vendor specific technology very quickly. Well, I'll stop here. My email ID is mentioned here. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can go to www.comptia.org/resources. We've got tons of free, information, research, simple documents that will help you understand simple complexes, concepts, and all of this is freely available to download. So I'll stop here and check with the team if they have any questions here.
A report titled India Cybersecurity Services Landscape by NASSCOM predicts that the Indian cybersecurity services industry would grow at about 21% in the coming years. So I guess after this session, our youth will be motivated to pick this as a career option. So thank you for this awesome session, Pradipto. Our audience does have many questions, but in the interest of time, it would be great if we can email them to you and you'd be kind enough to answer them. And we can send them back.
Sure, it's a vast topic, and I'm really sorry for it was difficult to collapse the entire thing into the 26 minutes that you're talking about. But I'm open. I mean, please send me across those queries. I can do many more sessions along with you. And thank you very much for your partnership.